Generally speaking, how would you compare this to the threats we saw from ISIS? How would you characterize these domestic extremists right now?
This is worse. ISIS was trying to inspire. They had great difficulty trying to get cells into this country. So they had to rely on the inspiration, the homegrown. They were recruiting. This time in our history, they're not just recruiting, they're already here by the tens of thousands in organized ways. So I would argue that this is much worse than the ISIS international terrorism threat. This is us. This is America today, which is unfortunate. It's a very troubling time.
Let's talk about some of those Americans, because we have seen a ton of headlines about police officers taking part in last week's violent attack. That has to be particularly troubling because we spent a lot of 2020 talking about the need to improve relations between police and the communities they serve. This absolutely doesn't help that.
This is certainly a complicating factor, the idea of officers who are violating their oaths, either at the federal level, local level, state level. So that is of concern going forward. But I think we'll find that the vast, vast, vast majority of American law enforcement and military will adhere to those oaths. And that's a good thing because that's going to be vitally necessary to get this epidemic of homegrown terrorism under control.
This epidemic didn't start in the last week. There were extraordinary warnings that this was coming. The fact that we've been able to organize this show of force in this short amount of time, what does that tell you about how ill-prepared, flat-footed we were a week ago?
I think for this particular event on January 6th, we're going to find as investigations go forward that there's going to be a lot of blame to go around. I can't think of another event in which the intelligence was not used correctly to plan and prepare. We're going to find that something went wrong, desperately wrong, in Washington for this event. We're learning from that, thank God. It happened before the inauguration, so everything you just described as to what's going on in Washington now is being dictated by the intelligence and the response to that intelligence. But it's not going to end on January 20th. Unfortunately, like 9/11, set the stage for years of dealing with international terrorism. We are now into a prolonged period of dealing with homegrown domestic terrorism that is being fueled by so many of our nation's politicians. It's amazing. It's very disheartening.